right, you guys. I hope you have enjoyed your break. We have a couple of videos that's going to come back to back to back. We got to get ready. 10 ready. Anyway, so grab your spiral notebooks, uh, find an available spot, and let's get to writing. Remember to eat the meat and spit out the bones. This video is lengthy. It may be 2 videos, but we shall see. And please excuse my background. My husband is watching the Duke game. So we're talking about an introduction to rhetoric, okay? So what is rhetoric? Rhetoric is simple. It's how the writers and speakers influence their audience. Okay, so what does being skilled at rhetoric means for you? One, and I'm just going to paraphrase, one, it will make you good at speeches and good at writing papers. It'll also help you to have a keen eye and a critical ear so that when you hear and read rhetoric, you will know, uh, you will have a better scope of what you're reading and what you're hearing. It's going to help you to understand the main ideas and the supporting details that the writer or the speaker is using, or it will help you use these things. Um, it's also going to help you to analyze the decisions that the author makes um, when they select certain words for the purposes of influencing their specific audience. It's going to help you to be able to plan and write compositions. And compositions are simply just any type of writing assignment or any type of writing that you will have, okay? And it's going to help you to examine the situation. And I'm talking about the context of what's going on. And it's going to help you to determine what's already been said, what's already has been written, what wasn't said, what should be said, uh, and what should be written about so that it could persuade the reader to either take action or to continue with the conversation that's being had uh, via the text or the speech. Think about Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. That speech was full of rhetoric. Um, and he gave that speech because it he wanted to influence his intended audience. So I want you to keep thinking about this as we continue with the PowerPoint. So what's an effective speech? Now, I don't want you to get so focused on the word speech. I want you to also think about this in terms of writing. Because if you can write an essay, you can write a speech. The same components of an essay will be in a speech. For example, context. In your speech and in your writing, you have to have context. We're talking about the occasion, the time, the place, the situations that are coming about. We got to have a purpose. So, what is your goal as the writer or your goal as the speaker? What do you want to achieve? Do you want to win this argument or win an agreement? Do you want to persuade me and others to take actions? Do you want to invoke sympathy? Do you want to make me laugh? Do you want to make someone else laugh? Do you want to inform us, provoke us, celebrate us? Do you want to secure support for an idea that you have? Do you want to bring a favorable decision to a choice that has been made? So you got to think about all of this as you're writing, as you're giving your speech. Why is this an effective speech? Why was Martin Luther King I Have a Dream an effective speech? Why was Barack Obama's speech effective? Um, of course, he got a thesis of claim, um, and a main idea. He has an opinion that needed to be what's the word I'm looking for? mm, said, and he had to prove this opinion. What's the subject? And then what persona did the speaker take on? And we're going to talk about persona. I know it says the character of the character the speaker creates when she or he writes or speaks, depending upon the context, purpose, subject, and audience. And basically, what that means is um, what, okay, for me as the teacher, when I'm speaking as Miss Bond, the teacher, what's my context? My context is in the classroom. What's my purpose? I want you to learn. What's my subject? It's English. Who's my audience? You, the students. And so I govern myself accordingly. Whereas, let's say I am with my husband. So my persona is not Mrs. Bond, the teacher. My persona will then morph into or change into Miss Kenya Dominique's wife. So, and everything will be according to this: the context, the purpose, the subject, and the audience. These are four important words that I need for you to make sure that you write down, okay? And of course, audience, we are talking about the intended audience, okay? All right. So, Aristotle was a great philosopher. As a matter of fact, he he is extremely old, people. He was born in 384 BC. So this, of course, is before Christ. He was a Greek philosopher, and basically, what philosopher means is he was someone who had a love of wisdom, and he studied the human life, the existence of human beings, and he studied our behaviors. So, with that being said, he realized that when we are giving a speech or when we're talking, it's the interactions among the subject, the speaker, and the audience that determines the structure and the language that we use. So I want you to think about that. That's key. The interactions between the subject, the speaker, and the audience. And those things will determine the structure in which you write and the language in which you use in your writing or speaking. Okay? All right, so this is the rhetorical triangle. Um, these are, again, the three components. And you see how each one influences each other. The speaker and the writer is going to influence the subject is going to influence the speaker and the writer, and so forth. The audience is going to influence the subject. The audience is going to influence the speaker, because as the speaker, as the writer, you have to keep your audience in mind when you're writing. Who's your audience? For example, with your essay that you wrote over before spring break, if you were to write, if your audience were 3-year olds, would you use the same language that you use? No. Um, would you? What changes would you have made based on your audience? So you have to think about that as a writer and a speaker. Okay. All right. So understanding persona. So if you understand persona, then you're able to do two things. And again, when we're talking about persona, it we're basically talking about uh, a personality that you're taking on. It's the aspect of your personality that you're presenting to others. So that portion of you that you're presenting to others. All right. So as I said, if you understand persona, you will be able to do two things. You will be able to speak or write so that your audience can perceive you in such a high uh, um, manner, and highly esteemed manner. They can perceive you as someone who's educated, trustworthy, or well intentioned. Um, you will also be able to make references and judgments about the character and the personality of other speakers and other writers. You will also be able to analyze how that writer appeals to the audience, how he interact or how she interact with the materials, and how they invite their audience to interact with the material. Also, you will be able to um, infer how the author or the speaker wants the audience to act after reading or hearing that speech. Okay? All right, so it's all about the words, you all. It's the power in the words. Um, the words give the writer the voice. The words give the writer um, the persona. Okay? All right. So let's talk about ethos, logos, pathos. Ethos is character, logos, reason, pathos. So these are the three appeals of rhetoric. When we're talking about character, we're talking about who you are morally. You okay, baby? Who you are morally. Uh, Logos, we're talking about, reason, uh, logical, how you think. Pathos, we're talking about emotions, okay? So when we're talking about ethos, again, I told you it's credibility, trustworthy. Can we trust you? This relates to the English word ethics. And so, again, trustworthiness. I want you to think about this. You would not give or you would not ask a student who is known for stealing to hold your wallet or your purse that is full of money, right? Right. Why? Because they're not trustworthy. So when you're writing and you're speaking, you have to prove that you're trustworthy because you want the audience to believe you. So an effective persuasive strategy is called ethos. Uh, so you get someone who's credible, who has a good reputation to speak on your behalf, and you would do that by way of the evidence that you use. You would find a credible source. Logos. So we're talking about logic. You're going to appeal to someone's intellect. This is what you all do all the time when I'm asking you to prove your claim. Prove your claim. Um, for example, let's say Mr. Jackson wants to argue or defend taking you all on a trip, taking the ninth graders on a trip to Hawaii. How would he do that? Well, he would have to use logic. He would have to state some facts. He would have to give us some figures. And he will also have to demonstrate how taking you all on this trip will inspire you to be better students, to behave properly, and to come to school um, every day. So that's logic. So it's all about rationale. Okay. All right. So again, pathos is about your emotions. It's all about how you feel. So you're trying to invoke a feeling from someone. You see this all the time. If you're up and you see the video of the little sick puppies and you get the little soft music and they say, for 10 cents a day, you can feed a pup. That is tapping into your emotions. So again, we use words to tap into your emotions, to tap into your logic, to tap into your credibility. Now, I want you to go ahead, stop, rewind, go back, and jot down your notes. And I'm going to start part two. All right, see you in the next video.